What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo. I'm doing great. How are you? Tomorrow, the New York Giants will face the Washington Commanders for the second time this season. Obviously, we all remember how it went in week 2, Giants versus Commanders, a little bit of a heartbreaker. It was a close one, came down to the wire, and the Giants ultimately lost on a field goal, game-winning field goal by the Washington Commanders. Now, before we dive into this game preview, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for this video, BetUS, the sports book with the fastest payouts in the industry. They have a lot of great lines and odds for these upcoming games tomorrow afternoon, and I want to take a look at this Giants versus Commanders game and place a quick best bet for you guys. I'm really liking in this game minus 130 at over 23.5 points scored by the Washington Commanders. This just makes sense to me if you're looking at Washington and the way that they've played this season. First of all, they're on a hot streak in the last several weeks. After that Giants game in week 2 where they were held to 21 points, they went for 38, 42, 34, 30, 40. We're held to 18 last week versus a good Chicago Bears defense, but 23.5 is not necessarily a high bar to reach. They're averaging 29.5 points per game. Yes, the Giants are holding opponents to 21.9 points per game. However, I think that Washington has a very good offense. The Giants have allowed 23.5 or more in the past 2 games. 26 to the Steelers and 28 to the Eagles. So the Giants defense has been vulnerable to give up some points over the last couple of weeks. Washington coming off of a bit of a down performance offensively versus the Chicago Bears. However, really good high-flying offense. Jaden is too damn good. I think that it's easy to bet on Washington to have over 23.5 points in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and place this bet. I'm going to throw $10 down on it over here on BetUS. Guys, make sure to go check out BetUS. Use the code YouTube150 for 150% deposit match on whatever you deposit. So it's really fun. Love BetUS. Shout out to them. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. And make sure to go check it out again. Fastest payouts in the industry with BetUS. But let's go ahead and dive back into this game because this is very much a different game than the one that we saw in week 2. This game should be a little bit different. This one's not on the road for the Giants. This is one at home. And considering this is week 9 now and not week 2, the teams are a little bit different now. We don't have Andrew Thomas, and the Commanders, meanwhile, are peaking. They are excellent. They are a great football team. They just won another thrilling matchup versus the Bears last week on a Hail Mary. They have all of the momentum in the world behind them. And Jaden Daniels now looks like an MVP candidate. In week 2, when the Giants faced Jaden Daniels, it was, wow, this rookie seems really exciting. What's he going to do to us? Now it's like, okay, he's officially one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. How do the New York Giants slow him down? So I'm excited to kind of dive into this. It's been a chill Saturday. I've been watching Cam Ward highlights and seeing him tear it up versus Duke and looking at all of the exciting college football matchups across the nation today. It's been a lot of fun, but outside of that, just calm before the storm, getting ready for Giants versus Commanders tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this game preview. First and foremost, let's talk about the injury report. Now, who's in, who's out for the New York Giants? Of course, if you guys didn't hear our episode yesterday talking about Tyrone Tracy, we mentioned how he was progressing through concussion protocol. He has now cleared concussion protocol officially and will be starting tomorrow versus Washington. Very excited about that because, again, if you listen to that episode, we were pretty much just talking about how much we love Tyrone Tracy Jr. We think he's an awesome player, and he is the X factor, the explosive playmaker for the New York Giants offense over the last several weeks at least. I mean, obviously we know that Malik Neighbors could be that as well, but Neighbors hasn't necessarily been making the explosive plays in recent weeks. The Giants' passing attack has faltered ever since Andrew Thomas has been out of the lineup due to injury. Speaking of injuries on the offensive line, Jermaine Illuminor, full participant in Friday's practice. He is going to start at right tackle tomorrow afternoon, so no worries there. Brian Burns, full participant on Friday. He's playing. Dexter Lawrence playing. Here's where things get very interesting, though. Let's move away from offense. Let's move away from defense. Let's move over to special teams. Punter Jamie Gillen out. He's dealing with a left hamstring injury. Now, let's make matters even worse here. So you all know Graham Gano is on injured reserve. He's not going to be playing football for quite some time. So who has been kicking in place of him? Well, of course, Greg Joseph. All of a sudden, on Friday, Greg Joseph does not participate in practice with an abdomen injury, and he's ruled out. So who is kicking for the New York Giants? Jude McAdam, somebody on the practice squad that the Giants have signed, and he is going to be kicking for the New York Giants tomorrow. So kicker woes. This ties back into what I was saying with that original matchup that the New York Giants had with the Washington Commanders earlier this season. It really all came down to kicking woes. The Giants kept the Commanders out of the end zone that entire game. Instead, the Commanders settled for 7 field goals. They never punted, they never turned the ball over. They just went down the field, marched down, and kicked field goals every single time. And the Giants, holding a team to 21 points, still were not able to get the job done. But if they had a kicker in that game, perhaps they would have won. If you guys remember, that is, of course, the infamous Graham Gano injury game. He gets injured on the opening kickoff. The Giants elected not to elevate a kicker to the active 53 roster. They went into the game with only 51 players activated. That was a really peculiar decision. And Graham Gano, while dealing with an injury all week to his groin, ended up pulling his hamstring on the opening kickoff. Wasn't able to kick the rest of the game. Giants didn't have a kicker who could kick, and they ended up losing by a field goal. So now, fast forward to week 9, the Giants once again facing Washington without their starting kicker. But I will say the Giants are lucky in the sense that Greg Joseph was ruled out on Friday. It's not like he got injured during the first play of the game. He's injured prior to the game beginning. So they did have some time, and they will be signing Jude McAdam to the regular active roster. So he will be kicking tomorrow. So at least the Giants do have a kicker. But looking across the bay, looking over to the Washington Commanders, their offensive tackle Cornelius Lucas is ruled out. So be on high alert for some sacks from Azeez Ojulari, Brian Burns, and the rest of them. And also Brian Robinson Jr., their standout running back, who has definitely torched the New York Giants in the past. Excellent player there, B-Rob. He's questionable for the game. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. So maybe the Giants won't have to slow down him as a rusher. If you guys remember, Brian Robinson ran all over the Giants defense in that first matchup earlier this season. Now, the Giants defense has absolutely improved since then. But let's talk about keys to victory. I think that for the New York Giants to win this game, obviously a few things have to happen. Daniel Jones needs to play better football. Now, why am I concerned that he might not? Let's get it out of the way. This is a home game for the New York Giants. The first one was the Malik Neighbors breakout coming out party, but it happened on the road in Washington. This one at home, Daniel Jones. Is this the week where he finally ends the streak? Now, what streak am I talking about? Well, he hasn't thrown a touchdown at home since, when is it? January 1st, 2023, I think. It's over 660 days now or something. It's a long time since Daniel Jones has thrown a touchdown at home. Is this the week? Well, I will say there's a good chance of it this week. Washington has been vulnerable. And in fact, the last time the Giants played Washington, Malik Neighbors' breakout party. That's what we were talking about that week because Neighbors went for over 100 yards. He had over 100 yards after the catch in that game, and he had 2 touchdown receptions. Can the Giants find ways to get Neighbors in the end zone at home? Well, actually, I think they can. I do think the streak is going to come to an end tomorrow afternoon. I know that might shock you guys to hear me say that. You guys know damn well how I feel about Daniel Jones and how critical I've been of him, and rightfully so. But you know what? I want to be optimistic, guys. I only get to watch 17 Giants football games every year. I hope that I get to watch a few more wins than the 2 measly wins that we've had so far through the first 8 weeks of the season. So I think that Neighbors versus Washington, it's a good matchup for him. I think he's going to get a ton of targets. And like I said, this Giants offense has really struggled to create explosive plays in recent weeks. However, Tyrone Tracy Jr., the running back, has been providing those plays. I think that this is a week where Washington might key in on that, try and slow down the rushing attack for the Giants. It could open things up for Malik Neighbors in the passing game, and I think that he could absolutely find his way into the end zone for his first home touchdown of his NFL career. I'm hoping to see it happen. But how do I feel about Daniel Jones going into this one? Well, I am a little bit concerned because, again, this offensive line has struggled ever since it lost Andrew Thomas a few weeks ago. And with, other injuries occurring and really just watching this Giants team over the last several weeks, I don't have a lot of confidence that Daniel Jones can stay upright for all 4 quarters. I think it's going to be Chris Hubbard starting at left tackle once again. Thankfully, that means we're not seeing Josh Azidu, but I'm not really going to say that Hubbard is any type of an improvement over him. Hubbard let up 12 pressures last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, the Steelers defense and their pass rush is elite, maybe the best in the NFL. But even still, this Giants offensive line is probably going to struggle every single week. And I think what we've seen throughout the last 6 years with Daniel Jones is when the offensive line struggles, so does he. So while I do think that he's going to find a way to get the ball into the end zone this week, and I think it's going to be Malik Neighbors to help him do it, ultimately, this is a tough one for the Giants. We've watched Jaden Daniels play. We've watched him blossom. We've watched him grow. Even though he was injured a couple weeks ago, well, he got right back into the lineup last week, led a comeback win, Hail Mary win versus a really good Chicago Bears defense. Yeah, it was his first game, I think, throwing 50%. I think his completion rate was 50-something percent and was the lowest of his career so far. However, he still found a way to win, and he still found a way to make plays. And I think he threw a career-high 300-something passing yards last week as well. So Jaden Daniels, when adversity is thrown his way, he's finding ways to rise to the occasion. And while I do think the Giants have a great defense, I really love some of these playmakers that they have on the defensive line and in the secondary. I like Drew Phillips. I like Tyler Nubin. You guys know how I feel about Sexy Dexy. I think that he's an absolute defensive player of the year lock through the first 8 weeks of the season. All of these things true. This is a great Giants defense, but this is a Jaden Daniels-led Washington offense that is explosive, knows how to run effectively, and can make a lot of plays and can give teams a lot of grief. So I am worried about this one. I think that the Giants are going to struggle to slow down Jaden Daniels. And once again, it's not necessarily because I think that the Giants defense is bad, but it's because I think the Giants offense is bad and they struggle. The Giants offense, I mean, listen, what more can be said? We've said it. We've said it all, really, about this Giants offense. Their struggle to make plays, their struggle to score touchdowns. Even if I think Daniel Jones is going to throw a touchdown this week, that doesn't mean that I think he's going to throw 3. So as they continue to struggle, I mean, Washington has allowed only 186 passing yards per game so far this season. That gives them a top 10 pass defense. So when you're looking at this matchup for the Giants and for Daniel Jones, it's a tough one. And I think that at home, where Daniel Jones has historically struggled, and with this Washington defense playing well against the pass, I think that this could be a game where, yeah, you rely on Tyrone Tracy Jr., and he could definitely provide a spark for you in this offense, and that would be fantastic if he does. But the Giants need to find ways to throw the football and score points. And so far this season, they haven't found ways to do that. They have struggled to score touchdowns immensely. And going through this game, I think when you're looking at the matchup here, it's just not favorable for the Giants offensive line, nor is it for Daniel Jones. But what is the key to victory for this Giants team? I think that it is to find ways to sack Jaden Daniels. Easier said than done. If you remember in that week 2 game against Washington, Micah McFadden had him in the graps, and he found a way to get out. And so that happens a lot with Jaden Daniels. He's an elite playmaker with the ball in his hands, throwing it and rushing it. So the Giants need to find ways to bring him down. So I think this needs to be a huge game from Brian Burns. Needs to be a huge game from Dexter Lawrence. Giants need to find ways to force turnovers for Jaden Daniels as well. That's easier said than done. He keeps the ball clean. He's a great quarterback. But this Giants offense needs to find ways to score points. Like end all, be all. The only way that the Giants win is if they can get into the end zone more than once in this game and actually keep up with the Washington Commanders. It's so hard for a defense to contain an offense when that team's offense can't score points. You know, I look at this Giants defense, and every single week I'm like, wow, there are players trying their asses off. There are players making plays. And then we get to the fourth quarter, and I'm like, man, nobody's trying anymore. Everybody stopped. And usually it's because the score is so lopsided. Why would you keep trying? What do you have left to do when this Giants offense just can't score? So the Giants just need to find ways to score this week. That literally is the entire MO. The Giants have to find ways to get the ball into the end zone. And if they could do that, if they can get Tyrone Tracy free and get him in the end zone, or if they can get Malik Neighbors 2 touchdowns in this game, sure, they can keep it competitive, absolutely. And then it'll just come down to 1 or 2 plays to make or break the game. And you hope that the Giants' very good defense can make those 1 or 2 plays. And you also hope that special teams doesn't become a major factor in this game. Because of the kicking woes that the Giants are likely to have with their 3rd string kicker now starting in this game. Very surprised that the Giants are this deep into the season and they're on their 3rd kicker, but you know what? It is what it is. Teams got to have that next man up mentality. You're always going to face adversity and you got to be prepared for it. Thankfully, Brian Dable is at least prepared at this time. I probably won't have any reasons to rant about him and get angry about Brian Dable and his decisions with the kicker tomorrow, hopefully. But we'll see how it all goes. Obviously, we'll hit you guys with the post-game reaction tomorrow afternoon following the game against Washington. It's very interesting, but of course, I want to hear from you guys. What are your predictions for this game? Giants winning, Giants losing, score predictions. Is it going to be lopsided? Is it going to be another close one between the Giants and Washington? One thing that I have to say is the Giants now 0-3 versus the division. They have had a lot of difficulties beating the Eagles and Cowboys in recent years. This is going to be the last point that I make here. If the Giants get swept by Washington, man, that's a stain. That is a blemish on the resume of everybody on this roster and in this front office, coaching staff, everybody. That would be entirely embarrassing for the New York Giants. So I know a lot of Giants fans don't want the team to win. They're like, whatever, let's lose. Let's go get Cam Ward. I get all that. I want Cam Ward too, but you got to win some games down the stretch as well. You can't just lose every single game and expect players to keep their jobs and positions and coaches as well. So I don't think that the Giants can realistically be comfortable moving forward if they get swept by every team in the division, because they're likely to lose again to Dallas in Dallas on Thanksgiving and Philadelphia when they play them again later this year. So every game from here on out is a must-win game. If you're Brian Dable, you're playing for your job. I know that John Mara said that his job is safe, but you never know how that changes. If the Giants end up winning only 2 games the entire season, his job is no longer safe. So this is a must-win game, divisional game, rival game, home game. Giants need to win tomorrow. It's against this Commanders team. It's very, very important. But we'll see how it goes. Again, let me know your predictions down below. And I'm excited to react to the game tomorrow afternoon with my co-host Alex when he rejoins me. Just a little bit busy today, but we got you guys. Daily uploads right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. Listen on Apple or Spotify. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
Perfect.